Can poor people get married? By the way, my wife is a beautiful secretary. I ran into a classmate who used to look down on me during our school days. Out of nowhere, he threw that line at me. This classmate, who works at a major brokerage firm, couldn't stop bragging about himself. Then, the beautiful secretary who was late arrived and shouted when she saw me, "Mr. Smith." After that, my classmate regretted his words and begged for a second chance. My name is David. I just turned 32 this year. Back in school, I was considered a terrible student, and the teachers told me further education would be difficult. Moreover, my family's business went bankrupt, and we suddenly found ourselves living in poverty. The company went bankrupt when I was grade 12. While I was casually thinking about my future, my parents revealed that the company was gone. "We're sorry, but we might put you through some tough times. If you get a job, could you contribute a bit to the household?" My father said he wanted to respect my decision, whether it was to go to college or to work. However, he also mentioned they couldn't support either choice financially and that I'd need to contribute if I worked. I didn't have a specific college in mind, and I wasn't a good student anyway. So, I decided to work to help my parents out a bit. But at my school, most students went on to higher education, and those who didn't were often looked down upon. Among them, the one who particularly looked down on me was my classmate, Tom. Tom's father was an executive at a bank, making Tom one of the wealthier students. Sometimes, he'd flaunt brand name items that seemed too early for a high schooler and brag about going to a prestigious university. "You're not going to college, huh? And your family's business went bankrupt? Looks like you're headed straight for poverty." After school, while I was waiting for a friend from another class, Tom suddenly approached me. We had barely spoken before, but once he learned I was going straight to work, he started making condescending remarks. "I always plan to get a job, and I don't really care. Besides, having my family together is more important to me than money. You're just pretending not to care, aren't you? You'll have a hard time in the future being poor. No girl would choose someone like you." To be honest, I had never been confessed to by a girl until then. I had never fallen for anyone either, and I wasn't interested in dating. But Tom's words did make me a bit anxious about my future. Still, I didn't think it was his place to say that, and I believed that if I stayed earnest, someone would eventually notice. Years passed, and now I'm 32. Just as Tom predicted, I hadn't been in any romantic relationships since then, focusing solely on my work. I had forgotten Tom's disdain, but looking through an old album brought those memories back. It annoyed me that things had turned out the way Tom had said. But my job is so busy now that I can't afford to dwell on it. Many of my classmates have climbed the ranks and are likely quite busy themselves. However, I'm confident I'm even busier than they are. One busy day, I found myself drawn to a newly opened cafe near the station. Normally, I would walk right past it, but something about this cafe caught my attention. I've always loved coffee and have several kinds of beans stocked at home. And above all, the exterior of this cafe was really nice. It had a calm atmosphere, and you could see the staff's smiles from outside. I ordered the recommended coffee and cake and took a seat by the window. The one-person seats were often at the counter by the window, which I liked. Some people might dislike being visible from outside, but I enjoyed watching passers-by and the changing sky. After getting my coffee and cake, I put on my headphones and started listening to music. I don't usually get to relax like this, so I felt great today. I thought it would be a good day. That's what I believed. But an unpleasant event crept up silently. Around the time I finished half my cake, I felt a gaze staring at me through the window in front of me. When I looked up, there stood Tom with a broad smile. Even though it had been over 10 years since high school graduation, I still remembered Tom's face, and he looked the same. Tom, delighted to see me, walked straight into the cafe. Is he really going to talk to me? As I wondered, Tom headed directly toward me. "David. Long time no see. I can't believe we're meeting here. It's been a while. What's up with you all of a sudden?" Well, I saw an old classmate, so of course, I had to say hi. Tom continued, as if he had no memory of the past. But all he did was boast about himself, which didn't interest me at all. "Actually, I work at a major brokerage firm and I'm about to get promoted." "Good for you. What's with that reaction? You're really jealous, aren't you? You can show some emotion, you know. Since my pleasant time was ruined, I just went along with the conversation half-heartedly. However, to Tom, it seemed like I was holding back my jealousy. I got married 6 months ago, too. Don't you think I'm really winning at life? Well, I guess so. You've never really stood out, have you? You're still not married, right? Tom seized the chance to belittle me. He claimed he approached me because he saw an old classmate, but I knew better. Tom just wanted someone to brag to. Even though he hadn't ordered anything, he stayed, which was inconvenient for the cafe. So I suggested he should either order something or leave. If you're going to stay, you should order something. Otherwise, you should probably leave. It's fine to hang out for a bit. No one said anything. Are you jealous of my marriage? Is that why you want me to leave? No, that's not it. When I tried to deny it, Tom twisted my words. So, I decided not to deny or affirm anything further. That's what I resolved to do. Yet, Tom didn't seem to run out of things to talk about, continuing next to me while I was growing exasperated. Well, I guess losers like you can't get married. By the way, my wife is a beautiful secretary. Where did you meet her? I met her at a mixer. Initially, I thought she'd just be a backup, but she turned out to be amazing, so I married her. Since Tom showed no signs of stopping, I decided to let him talk as much as he wanted and asked him some questions. Without any shame, Tom began his story loudly. He said he met his current wife at a mixer a friend had invited him to. She was very beautiful and popular, so he was determined to win her over and pursued her aggressively. Though they started dating, Tom had another girlfriend at the time. So his current wife was initially a backup, but after breaking up with the other woman, he married her. I was in my 30s and thought it was time to settle down. But doesn't that mean you were two-timing? Isn't that disrespectful to both your wife and your ex? I pointed out. Well, if they found out, they'd probably break up with me. So as long as they don't know, it's fine. Tom seemed to think nothing of betraying people, even acting as if dating multiple women was a badge of honor. I'd met people like this before, but Tom was on another level. You probably can't relate since you don't get women. Yeah, I'm really glad I don't live in that world. What? What do you mean by that? Unable to tolerate his attitude of treating people poorly, my anger surfaced. I had been holding back my emotions, but this was too much. Realizing I was angry, Tom suddenly changed his demeanor. Losers like you shouldn't be in a cafe. Wearing a suit to a cafe? That's such a loser move. I'm wearing a suit because I have work. Then tell me what kind of job you have. Bet you're either unemployed or have a bottom-tier job. I did have work later, and I just stopped by the cafe in between. So, there was nothing wrong with wearing a suit, and it shouldn't be something to look down on. But Tom wanted to nitpick and mock anything he could about me. I glanced at my watch and realized I needed to get to work soon. I should get going. Wait, are you running away? I have work to get to. I can tell you're lying. You're just embarrassed and trying to escape. Ignoring Tom, I left the cafe. Tom, left behind, hurriedly chased after me, trying to stop me. No need to rush off. It's not like you have anything better to do. He threw his arm around me. He leaned on me with his weight, making it difficult for me to move forward. Continuing to deal with him would be a waste of time and energy, and I'd probably end up being used. Just as I was trying to shake him off, a woman's voice called out from behind. Mr. Smith. Tom and I turned around, surprised. There stood a beautiful woman. Mr. Smith? What are you talking about? Mr. Smith. Do you two know each other? Why do you call him Mr. Smith? Ha? Tom looked confused, with question marks practically floating above his head. Honestly, I was also a bit confused by the situation. This woman was Emily White, my company's secretary. Tom White, could it be? You two are married? Yes, what's your relationship with each other? David and I were in the same class during grade 12. I was stunned to find out that the secretary I hired was married to Tom. It was too shocking. Emily is widely recognized as a beautiful and highly capable secretary. I had never heard any frivolous rumors about her, and she never let her private life interfere with her work. Whenever I made a mistake, she was quick to lend a hand and always did an excellent job. Wait a minute. Are you really the CEO? Hey, you've been too rude to him. He's a very impressive person. To be honest, I'm the CEO of an IT company. After graduating high school, I started working right away. Of course, it was to support my family. Starting out was tough, I made a lot of mistakes and got scolded frequently. But as I worked, I began to understand the ropes and had more free time. During that time, I started to think. Right now, I might feel more mature because I started working earlier than my classmates, but what will happen when they graduate from college? I'd be considered inferior. While I didn't usually care much about others' opinions, Tom's face came to mind. Recalling the days when Tom looked down on me, I felt a strong urge to prove him wrong. Even though I had no plans to see him again and might never see him again in my life. Tom's words stuck with me and ignited my competitive spirit. From then on, I began to study intensely, aiming to match the academic level of my classmates through self-study. There, I discovered the world of IT. I wasn't particularly bright, so I thought I couldn't handle anything too complex. But there are many different fields in IT, and more importantly, it fascinated me. From then on, I became obsessed with studying IT. After years of living like that, I started to think about creating my own company. At first, I thought it would be enough just to get a job at some IT firm. But since my father had run a company, I figured I could get some advice on management. By that time, I had also started to gain a strange confidence in myself. I felt like I could do anything, and even if I failed, it would be a valuable experience. So, I took the plunge and started my own company. Of course, it didn't go smoothly at first. I couldn't afford to hire employees, and I couldn't even get any work. Still, I ran the company while working part-time jobs and somehow made it to where I am now. There's no way this guy's a CEO. You're lying, aren't you? Why would I lie about that? Not wanting to believe I was a CEO, Tom started arguing with Emily. I thought it was ridiculous for them to fight because of me, so I tried to calm things down. It's true that I'm the CEO, but Emily hasn't done anything wrong. The moment I took her side, Tom's demeanor changed, and he became furious. He then got up close to me. A guy like you being Emily's boss? Give me a break. You probably hired her just because she's beautiful. Of course not. Tom insinuated that I had ulterior motives in hiring Emily, so I couldn't help but raise my voice in denial. Sure, Emily is undeniably beautiful. But I never mix my personal life with work, knowing it only leads to trouble. I've never once looked at her that way. However, Tom either lacked confidence or was jealous of me, and he kept pushing his narrative. I hire people based on their abilities. You're a liar. You probably only hire beautiful women. No one would bother with someone like you otherwise. Even after learning I was a CEO, he continued with his snide remarks. I had work to get to soon, yet Tom remained as self-centered as ever. That's enough. I'm leaving. Hey, are you running away? Just stop it. This is embarrassing. I'll go with Mr. Smith, and we can talk later. Emily and I left Tom behind and got into a taxi. She kept apologizing profusely, but it was clearly Tom's fault. Still, I couldn't understand why she had chosen to marry someone like him. On the way to my appointment, I couldn't help but ask why she married Tom. Why did you marry him? When we started dating, he was wonderful. But after we got married, he became increasingly tyrannical. Apparently, Tom had been treating her badly as well. She explained that before and early in their relationship, Tom was considerate and charming, which led her to marry him. Before marriage, he took her to various places and occasionally gave her bouquets, making him seem very attractive. But recently, he had been coming home late and going out drinking several nights a week. At first, she suspected he might be cheating, but found no evidence of it. When she asked him about it, he got angry, confronting her trust in him. True, there wasn't enough to conclude he was cheating, and it could have been her imagination. But given what Tom had said earlier about his relationships, I couldn't help but suspect he might be cheating. I was debating whether to share my suspicions with her. Do you think I should get a divorce? Would you divorce him if he's cheating on you? Absolutely. I can't stay with someone I can't trust. Hearing this, I decided to tell her what I had heard earlier. At first, she looked incredulous, but eventually, she believed me. This was probably because I had always treated people with sincerity. On the other hand, Tom's actions had led him to lose trust. After listening to my story, she spoke with determination. I've decided. I'm going to divorce him. Thank you for telling me. Even though I had a meeting with a client soon, I wondered if it was okay to discuss this now, but Emily turned out to be stronger than I expected. She showed a sad face for only a moment before quickly regaining her composure. Or perhaps she was just pretending to be fine. Even so, she was incredibly strong. After that, I didn't see Tom again, nor did I hear from Emily about him. A month later, our company had a drinking party. We prioritize our employees' personal lives, so we rarely have these gatherings. However, during the holiday season, we hold an end-of-year party and invite those who want to participate. Usually, Emily wouldn't join, but this time she did, which struck me as odd. Sure enough, Emily revealed she was now separated from Tom. I really want to get divorced quickly, but he's not agreeing to it at all. He seemed pretty possessive, so it might be tough. If it gets too hard, you might want to consider hiring a lawyer. I'm thinking about that, but there's something that's been bothering me. Emily then started telling me something unexpected. She had moved out of the house they shared and was now living in an apartment near the office. Recently, however, something strange had been happening. Although she rarely got approached by people on the street before, lately, men had been approaching her and asking for her contact information frequently. It happened on her way home from work, at bars she visited alone, and in various other places. It felt sudden and strange to Emily. I suspect they might be hired to make us break up. Hired to make you break up? Yes, like a honey trap. It seems there are agencies that specialize in breaking up couples by using honey traps. They approach under the guise of coincidence, so many people don't notice. Emily thought Tom might be trying to use this method to create grounds for a divorce by accusing her of cheating. While I was intrigued by this, it must have been a huge source of anxiety for Emily. I think it's because I told him I couldn't stay with someone who cheats, and I demanded a divorce. So he doesn't want to be the bad guy in the divorce. Indeed, what Emily said made sense, and a quick search online showed it was a possible scenario. But if Tom was doing this, it needed to be stopped immediately. What do you want to do, Emily? I'm not sure, but I do want a divorce. Don't you want to make him regret it? Before I realized it, I had blurted out those words. Perhaps I wanted to help Emily, and also to vent my own anger. Emily seemed to feel the same way, nodding quietly in agreement. Then, Emily and I devised a plan. First, she would be careful not to fall for any traps set by the breakup agent Tom hired. She would act as a difficult target, forcing him to keep hiring the breakup agent. If Emily didn't cheat, Tom would continue using the honey trap. However, hiring a breakup agent is expensive, and Tom would have to keep spending money. We concluded that the best way to make Tom suffer would be to put him in financial trouble. Emily had the tougher role, but she seemed eager to go along with the plan. In fact, she seemed more excited about the strategy than I was, which was a bit reassuring. For a while, Emily remained vigilant, and we successfully caused financial strain for Tom. Eventually, the money ran out, and the honey trap attempts stopped. Mr. Smith, it worked. Thank you. Not at all, you did all the hard work, Emily. Now I can get a divorce with peace of mind. Did you find any evidence of him cheating? The truth is, while we executed the plan, we were also gathering evidence of Tom's infidelity. Emily's role was to buy time for this purpose. Though it was mainly about hiring a private investigator, it was a tedious task. Even when we suspected his infidelity, catching the evidence was tough. However, persistence paid off, and we managed to capture proof in photos. We got the evidence. I've also consulted a lawyer, and we can proceed with the divorce with Tom at fault. Wow, you've already progressed that far? That's reassuring. Emily was indeed efficient. She managed all of this while still performing her regular work duties. After that, Emily successfully divorced Tom and received a lump sum. It was paid once, but Tom had no savings at the time. He must have borrowed money from his parents or friends. Borrowing such a large amount could sever those relationships. Tom didn't seem to understand that. Later, I heard through the grapevine that although Tom borrowed money to pay the lump sum, he hadn't repaid any of it. Apparently, he borrowed money from our classmates, but he hasn't returned a single cent. He had borrowed from several classmates, causing significant issues among them. Working at a brokerage firm, he should have been earning a decent salary. With a frugal lifestyle, he could have repaid the debt quickly. But it seemed Tom had a gambling problem. After Emily left, Tom frequently gambled. This bad habit persisted, leading to the inevitable divorce from Emily. Hearing this, I decided to confront Tom. Knowing his work schedule from Emily, it was easy to find him. "Tom, can we talk?" "What do you want?" "Here to laugh at me?" "No, but it seems you owe everyone money." "They want it back." Tom looked embarrassed. "Did you come just to say that?" "Either way, it's my business. If you repay the money, there might be a chance for reconciliation with Emily." "What? With Emily? Is that true?" Of course, the chance was slim. I hadn't explicitly promised it. But Emily had said it was okay to use her name. She believed that if Tom thought reconciliation was possible, he would repay everyone. Emily was right. Mentioning her name immediately changed Tom's demeanor. Would Emily really come back? Is she waiting for me? Why don't you find out for yourself? But she said she won't see you until you repay your debts. With that, I left Tom. Sometime later, Tom managed to repay his debts. Hearing that he had paid back our classmates, Emily and I felt relieved. As soon as he finished repaying the money, Tom contacted Emily. He begged to meet Emily, but she turned him down. Of course, Tom asked why, but she explained that she had thought it through and made her decision. Did Tom accept that? Of course not. He cursed me out. That sounds like him. But I'm really glad you helped me, Mr. Smith. Emily said, gripping my hand tightly. Please don't call me Mr. Smith in private. Right. David. The truth is, Emily and I are dating. As we talked about Tom, we hit it off. I never imagined I would date someone from my own company. But with Emily, I felt comfortable and energized. Emily felt the same, and we gradually became attracted to each other. At first, we only talked about Tom, but over time, our conversation shifted to our personal lives, hobbies, and future goals. I was surprised to learn that we had the same aspirations. I never thought there would be someone so similar to me. Having worked with Emily for years, I knew how wonderful she was. Before I knew it, I had confessed my feelings to her. Emily accepted my confession, and we started dating. However, I knew it was only a matter of time before Tom finished repaying his debts and tried to come back to Emily. So, I decided to move with Emily to a new place. While at work, our colleagues and the building security would keep an eye out for her. At home, she would have me, and she could feel safe. We also had classmates who were lawyers and police officers, so we had people to turn to if needed. I'm so glad you're here to protect me. I look forward to our future together. I'm sorry for what we did to your ex-husband, it feels like we've really dragged him down. What are you talking about? If it weren't for all that, I wouldn't have met you, David. Emily is an amazing woman, more than I deserve. I had never been in a relationship before and honestly didn't think I could love someone. But Emily broke me out of my shell and brought me into the world. I can't imagine marrying anyone but Emily. We cook together when we get home and have a drink on the night before a day off. On sleepless nights, we take walks and buy ice cream from the convenience store. These small, everyday moments are very special to me. I've come to realize that the most important things are the ones we often take for granted. So, a month after we moved, I proposed to Emily. We hadn't been dating long, and we had only been living together for a month. But I knew that if I let her go, I would never marry anyone else. Will you marry me? Are you sure you want me? Emily, you're the only one for me. Thank you, she said, tears quietly streaming down her face. A year later, we had a small wedding. Emily didn't want a big ceremony, so I respected her wishes. After the intimate ceremony, we went on a trip overseas. My work had settled down, and our employees were doing great. The company wouldn't fall apart if I was away for a bit. In fact, while we were on our trip, I didn't receive a single call from the office. I was prepared for some trouble, but everything went smoothly, much to my surprise. Our days continued as usual, and the company gradually grew. We were still a few years old as a company, so we had a long way to go compared to large corporations. But someday, I hope we'll be as well known as the big companies. At first, I started the company to prove Tom wrong. But now, I'm grateful for his words. Without them, I might have stayed stagnant. Although those days of Tom's taunts weren't pleasant, they were part of my life experience. And there's one more significant change since then. Emily is expecting a baby. A while ago, she wasn't feeling well, and a visit to the doctor confirmed she was 3 months pregnant. We had always wanted children but didn't expect it to happen now, so we were both surprised. Though this is a critical time for my career, I need to prioritize her health. Once the baby is born, I plan to cut back on work even more. Parenting is a shared responsibility, and mutual support is crucial. I've heard of many men who prioritize work, but so be it. Still, it's impossible for me to neglect my partner. Emily is risking her life to bring our child into the world, and it's my duty to support her. The baby is due in a few months, and I can't wait. On days when Emily feels well, we choose clothes and think about names. I wonder what our child will be like. Let's see, maybe a beautiful girl like you. Or a smart boy like you. We enjoy these conversations, eagerly awaiting our child's birth.